Everybody, I'm Baker from Board Online, Board Offline, and I'm bringing you a Tavarua review today. Now, Tavarua is a surfing game, which is not a theme that we see very often. Despite that, when I first heard about it, I was not interested in the game at all. I'll be honest, the theme actually turned me off initially because, I don't know, I don't know anything about surfing. I know that you use a surfboard. I know that you're in the ocean. That's about it. And I've heard other people say the same thing, that they don't see the point in a surfing board game. It's interesting to me that people have that response, though. And again, remember, I had that response myself because there's so many other themes that I have no interest in doing in real life, but still seem kind of cool. Orleans is one of my favorite games currently, but I have no interest in ever being a medieval French trader, which I assume is what's going on in that game. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm doing when I'm playing that game. Doesn't interest me at all to have ever been in that life, and yet I love that game. So for some reason, this theme initially turned me off, but once I got into the game, I really started enjoying it. And first off, the obvious that we could talk about are the components. I think that these components, as we've seen from Far Off Games with their previous game that was Xia Legends of a Drift System, component quality is something that Cody Miller prides himself on. So with this game, you've got the surfer meeples that are cool, but I mean, they are just meeples, but they're in bright colors. And then we've got the surfboards that they actually are on, the surfboard tokens. That's kind of cool, but here's the thing. Here's the level of detail. With the surfboard tokens, on one side, you've got the side of the surfboard that you stand on, obviously, right? You flip it over to the side that really there's no reason why that would ever be face up in the game, and you've got the bottom of the surfboard. It actually looks like the bottom of the surfboard. So, spend a little bit extra time with art there, and it's those kind of details that I really appreciate in the game. Then we've got the cards that are all good card stock, good card quality. I like that. The artwork is pretty good on the cards. Looking through the Stoke Cards, there's some good action shots of surfing and stuff. I like the style of artwork that we've got on here. And real quick, back to the surfboards, it could have been that they were all the same model surfboard, just different colors to separate the different players. But instead, each color surfboard is actually different and looks like its own unique surfboard. Doesn't affect the gameplay at all. But again, it's those little details in the aesthetics of the game that I really appreciate that show an attention to detail. The board itself is very cool. You've got Tavarua on the one side, which obviously the game is named after. But then on the other side, you've got Oregon, where people actually surf here in the United States. So that's cool. Fiji on one side, USA on the other. I like that a lot. It has, again, no effect on the gameplay. And yet they took the time. They said, hey, look, we've got the back of the board that's completely empty. Why waste that space? Let's do a little extra something here in order to just give the players a little bit more for their money. The dice themselves could have been 1 through 6, but they went the extra mile to make them a little bit customized, and I like the kind of wave-like artwork that's on the dice. The game itself is going to last around 45 minutes maximum is what I've found. I haven't had a game go longer than that. A lot of games go shorter than that once you know what you're doing, once everybody knows what they're doing. The selection at the beginning of the game, or not at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of each round, all players are selecting their cards that they're going to use for that round simultaneously, and then they reveal them, and then players move their pieces around. But that simultaneous selection at the beginning of the round really, I think, helps keep the pace up, because if everybody was kind of looking to see what other people were doing, they're reacting off of that, I think that would slow the game down a good bit. And one thing I will say about this game is that if it went longer than what it currently does, I think it would outstay its welcome, because what you're doing is you see the wave that's coming up, and you have a kind of a range that you can expect. So the wave card on the back that you're looking at might say, okay, this wave is going to adjust your balance on your surfboard 2 to 3 spaces, and it may go either forward or backward for this particular card. And so then you have to take out of your hand cards that are going to then adjust your balance in anticipation of what that card's going to do, and hope that you stay on your surfboard. That's really the extent of the game. Other than that, that's what you're doing when you're surfing down the wave. The only thing you're doing other than that would be getting out to the wave, paddling out, and there's no skill in that. That's simply playing cards to get out to the wave you want to get to. So the entire game centers around keeping your balance on the surfboard, trying to get from whatever wave, all the way out. Possibly you're all the way out at 6. So that's going to be 6 turns you spend on this wave, trying to get all the way into shore, racking up points by playing these cards. The higher the card you play, the more points it's worth, but also the more it's going to shift your balance. And sometimes you want to shift your balance a lot because like maybe the wave card says it's going to move you forward. So then you shift your balance, 4 spaces to the rear of the surfboard because you're safe. But at the same time, you might have wave cards that are really kind of ambiguous about what's going to happen, or that look like you really don't have much of a shot of surviving it. And so you're only going to shift your balance a little bit, or maybe you're going to bail on the wave and just take what you've gotten so far. You can use Stoke tokens to adjust your balance, which is nice because that helps mitigate the luck of the cards you've drawn, because all players are drawing from the same deck. It's not like you don't have your own deck of cards. You're not building a deck of cards for you to draw from that you can adjust there. So instead you have these green Stoke tokens that will adjust the value of the balance adjustment on the player card that you play. It'll adjust that by 1 point per Stoke token. So that's cool. They have that mitigation there to help deal with that luck, or bad luck as the case may be. One of the biggest challenges with the wave cards are going to be the barrel cards. Now, with the barrel cards, it doesn't affect your balance at all. Instead, if you're on a short board, you're going to have to play a card that does not match the barrel card when you flip it over. Now, a barrel card could have number 1, 2, or 3 on it. So if you're on a short board, you're going to have to play, either of the 2 numbers that are not on the barrel card that you're flipping over. So you've got a 2 or 3 chance of surviving the barrel, which is worth 5 points if you do survive it. If you're on a long board, you must match the number. So you have a 1 in 3 chance of surviving. Now, here's the thing with that. And this is a little bit of an annoyance for me. At the same time, it's pretty thrilling when you survive. There's no way of knowing what's on the back of that card, because there are, a certain number of barrel cards that come with the game, but they are not all ever going to be in the game. So you can't go based off of what the previous barrels were. You do know, okay, well, a 3 came up the last time, so I guess I have a slightly less chance of getting a 3, except there's enough 3s that come with the game to where the deck that you created for this particular game that you're playing could have nothing but 3s for the barrel. So you don't really know. It's really just a guess when you're trying to survive a barrel. Now, if you're on a short board, you do have the option of playing a 4, which is the highest player card in the game, to avoid the barrel. You don't get points, but you also don't have to wipe out or bail or anything like that. So there's that way of getting around the barrel. However, if you're on a longboard, which is already the most difficult board to survive a barrel on, which is thematic, apparently, you can't use the 4 cards anyway, because you can't do those represent really high-end tricks that are not people aren't capable of doing those on longboards. So you can't use the 4 cards anyway, which means that instead you have the choice of taking your 1 in 3 chances of surviving the barrel, or bailing and just scoring what you've got so far, which can kind of suck if you've started way out at 6 and you're down to 3, so you spent 3 turns on this wave, and you having a really good run, and then you got to bail because you don't want to wait, because if you wipe out, you lose all that progress except for your best 1 card. Alternatively, if you bail, you keep everything you've done so far. So the longboard, it can be very difficult to make it to shore. But I'll say that, that has been balanced by making the longboard much easier to maintain your balance. So it's all kind of something you have to weigh in your head. Now, I haven't spent a whole lot of time talking about Stoke Cards yet. There is a couple of cards in here that'll help you kind of mitigate everything that's going on, mitigate some of the luck in the game. The jet ski will allow you to move to any spot on the board. That'll help you catch a perfect wave, which perfect waves are worth a lot more points. And that's basically when the dice, the number on the dice matches the number of the space that you're in. Then, you've got the focus card that helps you. You can see what cards are coming up, which is kind of cool. And that can help with the barrel cards, of course. We've got cards that let you actually pick the dice results as they show up instead of just rolling them randomly. And, lots of stuff like that. Cards that give you more Stoke tokens. So really, when it comes down to it, what you're doing in this game is paddling out, catching a wave, trying to ride it back into shore, and doing this repeatedly until the wave deck runs out. Now, the wave deck is not super long. There's different numbers of cards depending on whether you're playing just a regular game or playing career mode or something else. Now, career mode, by the way, that is a solo-only mode that comes with the game. And I will say, for solo gamers out there, I play a good number of games solo. I play Mage Knight. I've played some Ice and Mystics solo. I do enjoy solo gaming when I can't find somebody else to play with. And this game is actually very entertaining solo. The career mode that it comes with, on the back, or in the back of the rule book, is this whole section right here that is a scorecard for solo, and then these are all your different events. And basically the idea is you're going through a year in the career of a surfer who is in the top 50 in the world for surfing, and you're trying to get all the way up to number one. You've reached number one, you've won. It's pretty cool. I've played I've played twice so far in solo mode using the career mode, and I really enjoyed it. I've also played solo mode where you were just simply trying to maximize your score. Also a lot of fun. So if you like solo games, this one definitely is one to check out as far as that goes. Playing with other players, it's also a very fun game. And I do not think it outstays its welcome. I think that this game is aware of what it brings to the table and is aware of how long it needs to be. And it cuts itself off at exactly the right time. I think that is a very good thing to be, that the designer, that Cody Miller was aware of how long this game should run. It's clear that some, playtesting was done, everything to figure that out. And I like that a lot. When the game ends, I know that I've played, felt like, let's play it one more time maybe. And, we'll play it a second time, and then, we're good for now. We'll go play something else. But at the same time, we still want to come back to it later. So it's not a game that you're necessarily going to, pound out 5 or 6 games in a row. But it is a game that leaves you thinking about it. You remember it. It certainly looks beautiful, and then it feels a lot of fun. It feels very thematic. You're getting points for tricks. You're getting points for, hang tens and making it shore and all this kind of stuff. This game's a lot of fun. I absolutely recommend it. I think that if you're looking for something with a unique theme that doesn't last too long and that you can play solo all the way up through, I believe 6 players is the maximum on this game. If that sounds like a good time, this is definitely a game to try out for you. I really enjoy this game. Tavarua from Cody Miller and Far Off Games. Thanks for watching, and until next time, if you're bored online, board offline.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.